Jay Cottrell here with LPT Realty. It's Monday. It's also Solar Eclipse Monday, but Mondays also mean it's time for another edition of Real Estate Talk with Jay. Now, before I get into this week's topic, I do want to go over something that's happened in the market over the past week. So we saw a couple pretty big spikes happen last week. Let's take a look. So we saw a pretty big spike in the number of new listings come to the market for sale. The number hit 230, which is the highest so far it's been this year, and definitely a lot higher than most of the weeks this year. But inventory levels, well, as you can see, those have stayed mostly the same. The reason for that is because that spike of new listings coming on the market coincided with a spike in the number of pending listings as well. So those new listings got absorbed by the amount of homes that went under contract last week. So the number of new listings coming on the market still seems to be the throttle for our local market. Now, the other thing that spiked, take a look at this. The list price for those new listings skyrocketed to almost $450,000. Now, that doesn't mean that the pricing in our area has gone up that high. What that indicates to me is a lot of those new listings that hit the market last week were higher priced, more on the luxury side of things. So that's why you saw that huge spike in the list price last week. So now, let's go ahead and get into this week's topic, shall we? And that is, what are contingency clauses in real estate contracts? So if you are a first-time home buyer, or the last home sale or purchase you did was via handshake instead of actually a legally binding contract, then this term might not be very familiar to you. So let me go ahead and give you a brief explanation of what these are. Now, before I answer, I'm obviously not a lawyer. I can't give legal advice, and I can't give you the full legal definition of what a contingency clause in a contract is. However, I am going to go over these, the real estate version of these, because I deal with real estate contracts every day. Okay, so the basic layman's definition of a contingency clause is they're clauses in a contract that require a specific event or action to take place for the contract to be considered valid. So if the party that is under the contingency is unable to do that specific action or make that event occur, then the other party is released from the contract. So how do these relate to real estate transactions? These are typically used by buyers in a real estate contract and transaction to protect themselves. A lot of people refer to them as out clauses, but that's not exactly a perfect definition of them. The three most typical are inspection, appraisal, and financing. The inspection one is obvious. So you're able to inspect the house for major defects or issues with livability or value of the house, so that if you do an inspection and you find a crumbling foundation or major water issues or mold, or maybe you found something that the sellers, maybe it was a little more nefarious. You found something the sellers were trying to cover up and not disclose. Then basically, at least the way it works in Tennessee contracts, you can ask the seller to make repairs or to do other things to make you basically happy after that inspection report. But if they're unwilling to do any of those things, then you can simply get out of the contract. You can cancel the purchase of the home at that point. Appraisals are very similar. So if the home does not appraise for the agreed upon purchase price, and you don't want to overpay for that home, then the seller can you can ask the seller to agree to lower that purchase price, or you can say, no, not willing to overpay for the home, and you won't have to proceed with the purchase of the home. And then the last typical one is financing. So for anybody that has to get a mortgage or other type of loan in order to purchase a house, you don't want to have to continue with that purchase if you are unable to obtain that financing. So that's what that contingency relates to. If you're unable to get the financing, then you can cancel the purchase at that point and not have to proceed any further. Now, obviously, these are simplified explanations of these clauses. When I sit down with my clients to do a consultation, I go more in depth over this and many other aspects of the contracts that we use in real estate so that they know exactly what they're signing and what they're agreeing to. But I think it's very helpful, and I hope that these explanations have been simple enough and helpful enough that if you are a first-time buyer, or if the last home you purchased, I said, was via handshake and you weren't using legal forms to do that, then this should give you a little bit more information about how real estate is done at the professional level. So again, I hope you found that information helpful and that it was interesting to you. Any other topics that you want me to cover, or any other questions that you have that you'd like me to answer in these weekly videos, please put them in the comments down below. Please call me, email me, or whatever. Just get it to me and I will be glad to answer you directly, but then also use it as a topic for these weekly interviews. So thank you so much for watching. That's it for this week. Enjoy the eclipse. Be safe. We'll see you next week.